The woman successfully helped her husband become president, becoming the first lady herself. Shortly after his election, he shockingly announced he wanted a divorce. Over the years, Cha Soo-yeon had meticulously planned to achieve her dream of becoming the first lady, hoping to elevate her husband to the presidency one day. 15 years earlier, she had focused on getting him into the National Assembly. A week before the election, her husband, Hyun-min Cheo, was negotiating labor issues at a factory when a fire broke out, injuring many, including him. Cha Soo-yeon, lightly injured, stayed by his side after waking up. His successful surgery, possibly aided by her prayers, saved his life, though he suffered a permanent leg injury. With the election a week away and his prospects dim, Cha Soo-yeon actively campaigned for him, promoting his ideals among the public. Her efforts paid off, and Hyun-min Cheo was elected to the assembly. 15 years later, she aimed to make him president. At the climax of a fiercely competitive election, with a narrow vote margin against another candidate, Hyun-min Cheo unexpectedly missed a crucial live TV debate. While his campaign team searched for him, he was in the morgue at a hospital, mourning a woman whose death deeply affected him. Fortunately, they found him, and after regaining composure, he delivered a powerful speech, sharing personal stories of sorrow and warmth, highlighting his wife's steadfast support. Additionally, he called on his opponent to join him in promoting a public safety bill, believing its passage would bring hope to the people and change to society. Hyun-min Cheo's heartfelt speech received thunderous applause. At home, Cha Soo-yeon had anticipated the election results and was selecting clothes and shoes fitting for a first lady. After years, her long-held wish was being fulfilled. She chose a white dress and red high heels, a combo that perfectly matched the first lady's dignified yet passionate image. As expected, Hyun-min Cheo won the election, reaching the pinnacle of power. However, Cha Soo-yeon's attention was drawn to the new, young stylist, Lee Hwa-jin. She scrutinized the lipstick Lee wore, tried it, and then returned it, saying such a color only suited naive girls like Lee. She subtly warned Lee to not touch things or people that weren't hers. Lee, unfazed, stared back at Cha Soo-yeon without apology. That night, Cha Soo-yeon headed to a square filled with her fans and supporters, where she and her husband were to give a victory speech. Yet, seeing her husband's huge campaign posters on the way, she remembered something else. Just the day before the election, she attended her daughter's school entrance ceremony as a parent. There, other parents praised her looks and eagerly asked for photos, hoping she would look after their children. Also attending the ceremony was Hyun-min Cheo's female secretary, a loyal chief of his campaign team. Her son and Cha Soo-yeon's daughter were classmates. In the classroom, Cha Soo-yeon quietly questioned the secretary about an unexplained cancellation of Hyun-min Cheo's schedule last week. Despite her request, the secretary had not provided any investigation results, causing Cha Soo-yeon to distrust her. During the ceremony, Cha Soo-yeon gave her daughter a bouquet. However, her daughter, Hyun-ji-ryu, was unhappy, knowing her mother attended the ceremony the day before the election to garner votes. Hyun-ji-ryu, tired of her mother's calculated ways, wanted to escape. On the ride back, Hyun-ji-ryu expressed her desire to study abroad, having received an interview invitation from an overseas art school. Cha Soo-yeon asked her to wait until after the election, prioritizing political interests over her daughter's wishes. Hyun-ji-ryu resented this family atmosphere, even claiming her parents' seemingly sincere campaign speeches were all lies. In a heated moment, Cha Soo-yeon slapped her daughter, who retaliated by revealing she had seen her father with another woman. Upon hearing of her husband's affair, Cha Soo-yeon was neither angry nor sad, but extremely calm, asking if anyone else knew. Hyun-ji-ryu, realizing her mother had known about the affair, was baffled at her mother's choice to ignore her husband's betrayal for the sake of her status as the First Lady. Cha Soo-yeon sternly reminded her daughter to keep the affair secret, highlighting the potential disaster a scandal could bring now that her husband was president. Seeing her daughter's defiant attitude, Cha Soo-yeon even pleaded with her to forget what she had seen. Now, recalling the previous day's events, Cha Soo-yeon maintained a clear mind and measured confidence as she entered the square filled with shouting fans who saw her as an idol and pillar of strength. With a practiced smile and dressed in her white dress, she moved through the crowd, shaking hands with one supporter after another. Moments later, Hyun-min Cheo met his wife amidst the crowd. Unaware of the impending crisis, Cha Soo-yeon had prepared a video for the pre-speech display on the plaza's large screen. It showed her husband rebuilding his life after the factory fire, with her constant support and encouragement. The video, documenting their deep bond, ignited enthusiastic applause from the fans. Cha Soo-yeon hugged her husband tightly as they reached the pinnacle of their journey. Suddenly, she noticed a man in the crowd throwing a tomato at Hyun Min Cheo. Without hesitation, Cha Soo-yeon shielded her husband. The man, a former factory worker, accused them of causing a colleague's death, branding them murderers. Wearing her red high heels, Cha Soo-yeon stepped over the smashed tomato and confronted the man, who spat at her and was dragged away shouting threats. Her protective act won the crowd's admiration once again. Amidst cheers, Cha Soo-yeon, smiling, held her husband's arm and kissed him on camera as the fans requested. But she could never have anticipated that after the kiss, her husband would suddenly ask for a divorce. Shocked, she heard the word divorce from him but remained calm, firmly stating she would not consider it. Hyun Min Cheo was utterly disappointed with her reaction. Since the incident, she hadn't even inquired why he wanted a divorce, only opposing it outright, which he could no longer tolerate. On the ride back, Hyun Min Cheo repeatedly complained to his secretary about his wife. Their marriage of 20 years had become unbearable for him, even to the point where he could not stand drinking the water she prepared. At this moment of crisis for Cha Soo-yeon, their daughter Hyun Ji-ryu was also rebelling. At home, Hyun Ji-ryu was fixated on a necklace that belonged to her close friend, Lee Hwa-jin. Once inseparable like sisters, their relationship had soured over an incident. That evening, Hyun Ji-ryu caught Lee Hwa-jin sneaking into their house and searching her mother's closet in the dark. When confronted, Lee Hwa-jin admitted she was looking for her lost necklace. Hyun Ji-ryu questioned why her necklace was in their house, to which Lee could not provide an answer but realized Hyun Ji-ryu had found it. Lee demanded it back, but Hyun Ji-ryu refused, and the argument led to both girls tumbling down the stairs. Cha Soo-yeon, upon hearing of her daughter's accident, rushed to the hospital. Fortunately, her daughter's injuries were not severe. In the hospital room, Cha Soo-yeon brought up a bill to her husband. As soon as he became president, Hyun Min Cheo had prioritized this bill, which was related to the factory fire 15 years ago. He aimed to uncover the truth and seek justice for the affected workers. However, Cha Soo-yeon viewed the fire as a thing of the past. She believed politics should focus on the present and future, not dwell on old events. Unable to agree with her perspective, Hyun Min Cheo, now the highest authority as president, was determined to change the unfortunate state of affairs. Cha Soo-yeon shifted the conversation to their daughter, arguing that her husband should never have let their daughter discover his affair. At that moment, Hyun Ji-ryu woke up and confronted her father about his infidelity, producing Lee Hwa-jin's necklace as evidence. She had witnessed her father's indiscretion with Lee in the closet and found the necklace that night. Hyun Min Cheo attempted to explain, but Hyun Ji-ryu didn't believe him. Instead of arguing further, he asked for the necklace back, wanting it returned to Lee. Hyun Ji-ryu, infuriated, threw the necklace to the ground, unable to accept her father anymore. Inappropriately, Hyun Min Cheo chose that moment to announce his intention to divorce Cha Soo-yeon. Cha Soo-yeon took her husband outside, agreeing to a temporary separation but firmly ruling out divorce. She believed that without her, his presidency would be unstable. Hyun Min Cheo mentioned an investigation into a Mr. Yang, with whom Cha Soo-yeon allegedly had a symbiotic relationship involving political funds. The current president was intensifying the investigation due to dissatisfaction with the bill Hyun Min Cheo was pushing. Cha Soo-yeon realized her husband wanted a divorce to distance himself from her to facilitate the bill's passage. She urged him to abandon the bill, suggesting that doing so would solve all their problems. However, Hyun Min Cheo was determined to see the bill succeed, even at the expense of their marriage. Cha Soo-yeon suspected that the divorce might not only be about the bill, but also involved Lee Hwa-jin. Hyun Ji-ryu felt it unfair for her mother, who had worked so hard to support her husband's presidential ambitions. Tears fell as she contemplated her parents' looming divorce, something she had never expected to happen. Cha Soo-yeon assured her daughter she would not divorce, no matter what. The butler called to report that Lee Hwa-jin, staying in the neighboring hospital room, had left the hospital without notice. Cha Soo-yeon hurried downstairs to look for her but slipped and fell on the stairs. She took off her red high heels due to the fall and continued to the parking lot with a bruised leg. There, she saw her husband talking to someone and promising to end his relationship with his wife. To her dismay, the person he was speaking with was Lee Hwa-jin. Under security escort, the soon-to-be president Hyun Min-cheo visited a noodle shop run by a grandmother, a familiar face and a longtime donor to the orphanage. Hyun Min-cheo and many factory workers came from that orphanage, viewing the grandmother as family. He cherished the memories of time spent with her and his fellow orphans. The previous day, the deceased he visited in the hospital was an aunt from the orphanage who had cared deeply for him. He remembered her bright smile and the devastating fire that changed everything. While he was talking to the grandmother, a lawyer interrupted. The lawyer referred to the man who threw a tomato at Hyun Min-cheo the day before, a former co-worker and someone close to the grandmother. The man had been arrested, and the lawyer, also from the orphanage and supported by the grandmother, hoped to negotiate his release. However, Hyun Min-cheo did not continue the topic but instead asked the grandmother to serve the lawyer a bowl of noodles. After eating, as usual, she handed Hyun Min-cheo a bottle of milk and reminded him not to use his power to protect friends. The lawyer was puzzled why the grandmother did not plead with Hyun Min-cheo, who could have easily ordered the man's release with just a word. Surprisingly, behind the scenes, the grandmother spoke ill of Hyun Min-cheo, stating he had not yet paid for his crimes. She even scattered rice at the doorstep, hoping to dispel the misfortune Hyun Min-cheo brought. Meanwhile, Hyun Min-cheo had established his own transition team. However, during an interview with reporters, a delivery truck suddenly arrived, bringing several boxes. One reporter quietly approached and snapped a photo, discovering a document that appeared to be a divorce agreement, with Cha Soo-yeon listed as the sender. This immediately caused a media frenzy, igniting a scandal about the presidential couple's divorce. At the same time, Cha Soo-yeon was at the hospital for her daughter's follow-up appointment. When news of the media blockade reached her, she immediately attempted to escape the hospital with her daughter. However, the reporters, relentless in their pursuit, followed by car. For both political reasons and to protect her daughter, Cha Soo-yeon sped up, and unexpectedly, a car accident occurred.